everyone. We'll get started today lying on our backs. The point of today's practice is to really get into the legs, lengthen them, stretch them out, along with core and everything else. If you have a couple of blocks, might be helpful for today's practice, but all of the classes, you don't need props. They're just an optional thing. If you do have them around, grab two. So starting on your back, lie down flat. If that's comfortable for you, you're always welcome to bring the legs in, the soles of the feet on the mat if you feel any tenderness in the lower back. To start with some lengthening, reach the arms overhead. You can interlace the fingers and turn the palms to face away from you. Then maybe you walk the feet in, hip width distance, press out through the heels, pointing the toes up toward the sky, or you can point the toes away from you if you feel like that gets you a little bit longer. And then press out through the palms of the hands. Hug the belly in and then see if you can get long in the sides of the waist, sides of the legs, sides of the rib cage, feeling some growth happening. And hug the knees in toward the chest. Starting to lengthen the breath, slowing it down. So you take longer breaths and fewer breaths because they're longer. Keep the right knee hugging in toward the chest. Extend the left leg out in front of you. Then interlace the fingers behind the back of the right thigh, extending the right leg up. You have this L shape with the legs. And that right hamstring, it's pressing into the hands are pressing back into the hamstring. Keep the chest nice and open. As you feel some lengthening, the back of the hamstring, back of the calf. We'll add in some core. So start to hug the belly in. Hover that left heel away from the mat. Keep the leg engaged by flexing the foot. And then using the hands behind the back of the hamstring, lift the chest up. So get that height that you're looking for. Look straight up instead of forward. And then interlace the fingers back behind the head. Keep the elbows nice and wide. See if you can lift up a little bit more. And then inhale back halfway. Keep the legs the way they are. Inhale up. Exhale back. A few more times with the breath. Keeping the elbows wide, head heavy, legs long. Slower is always better. And then this time, lift the chest up. Interlace the fingers, point the fingers up toward the sky. So you're taking steeple mudra. Point outside of the right hip, lower the right leg to meet the left. And we'll do that a couple of times. Lift just the right leg up. So that's the only one that's moving. Slowly lower back down. Lift it back up. Let's do one more. Slowly lower. Lift it back up. Point the fingertips up toward the sky, interlace the fingers back behind the head, lift up a little bit higher, and bring that right heel down to meet the left. Set the feet down, set the head down, interlace the fingers, one index finger over, stretch the palms overhead, press out through the feet, and this should feel pretty nice. So we just built a little bit of heat in the abs. It's always nice to stretch out right after. We'll start to make our way slowly into the other side. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. And you're already getting into the hips here as you bring the knee in, pressing the right heel away from you. Interlace the fingers behind the back of the left hamstring, extending the left leg up. It doesn't have to be all the way straight. It's just wherever you start to feel a nice opening in your own body. And depending on what activity you're doing and how you use your body, it's going to be in a totally different place. And that could change day to day. So it's more about listening to what's happening for you on your mat in the moment. Start to press the left hamstring into the hands back into the hamstring, hug the belly in, hover that right heel just a few inches away from the mat. Then lift the chest up. You can use that leverage of the left leg to lift the chest up. Now interlace the fingers back behind the head. Keep lifting the chest and then bring it back on the inhale. Exhale up. Inhale back halfway. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. This time, exhale up. Interlace the fingers except for the pointer fingers. Point outside of the left hip. Keep both shoulder blades lifted if you can. Slowly lower the left leg down to meet the right. Bring it back up to the top. Slowly lower. Back up to the top. Last one. Slowly lower. Bring it back up to the top. Point up toward the sky. Interlace the fingers back behind the head. Slowly lower the left foot to meet the right foot. Reach the arms back behind you and hold for 3, 2, 1. Set it down. Arms are down, legs are down. Interlace the fingers, turn the palms to face away from you. Press out through the hands and the feet. Bring the knees in toward the chest. Rock side to side. And either roll over to one side or rock yourself up to seated, making your way to tabletop, coming to all fours. Do a few rounds of cat-cow breath. On the inhale, bring the heart forward between the arms. On the exhale, round the spine, bring the chin to the chest. Several more times on your own. Go at your own pace. Just listen to the breath. See how long you can make it. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. You can add or take away movement. Eyes open or closed. Next time you round the spine, stay there. Come back to a neutral spine, so you're back in tabletop. Step the feet back behind you, coming into plank pose. Stack the shoulders over the wrists. Pull the legs back. Lift the belly a little bit. And then widen the feet wider than hip width distance. Bring both heels over to the left. So the right foot's in front of the left foot. Reach the right arm up. So you're scissoring the inner thighs. You're stretching the tailbone back toward the heels as you reach the chest forward toward the top of the mat. To get a little bit longer, reach the right arm up and overhead. Bring the left hand down to the mat, back to plank pose. Center yourself and then roll over to the right. Both heels to the right. Left arm reaches up. Lift the hips up. And then reach that left arm up and overhead. So you're pushing the mat away from you, trying not to lock that right elbow. Left hand comes down to the mat, back in plank pose. Knees can be up or down. Slowly lower yourself all the way down to the mat. So you're lying down onto your stomach. Hands back by the lower ribs. Hug those outer elbows in and then point them back so there's plenty of room for the neck. Press into the tops of the feet. Lift the chest for a baby cobra. Exhale, release. 2 more. Inhale up. Exhale, let that go. So easier to engage the abs after that work that we started with the core. Hug the belly in, reach the heart forward, hands are light. Exhale, release. Come to hands and knees. Bring the big toes together. Take child's pose. So the hips sink back toward the heels. Arms stretch forward. See if you can press into the hands enough to keep the forearms lifted away from the mat. And those upper arms are hugging in toward one another. Then look forward. Start to shift forward, tuck the toes, bring the hips up and back. Downward facing dog, first one. Keep a bend in the legs. Move the hips side to side. Gently, slowly. Keep the arms nice and strong. and come to stillness. On an inhale, glide forward to plank pose. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Let's do that a couple more times. Inhale, glide forward to plank pose. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Inhale, glide forward to plank pose. This time lower down halfway chaturanga. Press back up to plank pose. Bring the knees down to the mat. So you're back in tabletop, back to all fours. Keep the knees underneath the hips. Step the right foot forward, up between the hands, coming into a low lunge. Keep the fingertips on the mat. See if you can shift that left leg back. Sometimes if you tuck the back toes and shift it back, it helps you get a little bit above that left kneecap. And if you feel like you have enough space, you can start to bring the hands up to this front thigh. So you can leave the hands down if that feels better. You could even use blocks underneath the hands if you want to. And on the inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Bring the hands back down to the mat. You can come up onto the fingertips or keep the blocks if you're using them. Bring the right knee back underneath you for tabletop. Step the left foot forward. Shift that right leg back. Use the right toes to tuck the foot and stretch the leg back if that helps. Stay here for a few breaths. Hands on the mat or blocks. I tell you, boy, I paid my way. Walk the hands up to this front thigh. I'm a dog when I'm on the drain. I question the fabric of everything. Then reach the arms all the way up. So lifting up out of the waist, pulling that right hip bone up. Tailbone's long. Hands come back down to the mat. Bring the left knee back behind you so that it's underneath the hips, back to tabletop. Shift forward, stacking the shoulders over the wrists. Lower down halfway, chaturanga with the knees down. Stay like this or tuck the toes, lift the legs, chaturanga. Press back up to plank pose. Back to downward facing dog. You can always bring the knees down for chaturanga in your vinyasas. And bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, bring the feet forward up between the hands. Nice and soft. Fold over the legs. Legs can still have a bend. And either clasp opposite elbows in front of you or interlace the fingers behind the back, knuckles to the sky. So you have to listen to the shoulders here to see how open they are. This one might be a little too intense for some of us. And if that's the case, then you clasp opposite elbows. Bring the hands to the mat. Inhale up halfway. Nice long spine. Exhale, fold. Let's do that a couple more times. Hands can stay down on the mat, or you can bring the hands onto the sides of the legs. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. This time, inhale, circle the arms all the way up to the top. Bring the hands together overhead and down in front of the heart. Coming into our Surya A's. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up, halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower all the way down to the mat slowly. Inhaling up for cobra. Exhale, release, downward facing dog. Plank or hands and knees to get there. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway to chaturanga, maybe up dog, or stick with cobra. Make that choice in your own body and in your own practice. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, hug that belly in, lift the hips, hop or step the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down, back to plank pose. Lower down halfway to chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Slowing down the breath, keeping it nice and focused, coming into the ceremony of your Surya A's. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down, back to plank pose and through your vinyasa. This time, glide forward to plank pose. Bring the left knee down to the mat. Spin the right heel down flat with the left hand underneath the left shoulder, or maybe you bring it out to the side a little bit, out to the left. Reach the right arm up. So you're coming into a modified side plank. You can stay right here, or you can press down into that left shin, press out through the right heel to lift the right leg up. So those right toes will point to the side. They won't point up toward the sky. And then see if you can lift up with the right arm, hug the belly in. Start to reach back with that right arm, keeping the shoulder going down toward the hip. Bend the right leg, point the foot, see if the hand and the foot connect. If they don't, come right back to where you just were with the right arm up and the right leg extended. If they connect, start to reach the heart forward, hugging the belly in, pressing that right knee back so you get a little bit of a quad stretch. Feeling those stabilizing muscles work for you to keep this balance. Slowly release the right foot if you have it. Reach the right arm up. Bring the right hand down to the mat. Bring the right knee down to the mat. Step the right foot forward outside of the right hand. So it's a wide lunge. Right knee and right arm are touching. Start to stretch the chest forward. Tuck the back toes, lift the back leg. Wide lunge. Hands are right underneath the shoulders. And then see if you can level off the hips. So if one hip feels like it's higher than the other, keep them even. Then reach the right leg up and back for a three-legged down dog. Step the right foot forward to the top of the mat. Hop the back foot in for warrior one. So seal that left heel down, reach the arms forward and come up. So as you press that left thigh back, stretch the right inner thigh forward, hug the belly and lift the chest up. And interlace the fingers behind the back. Keep lifting the chest, folding forward for humble warrior. Come back to warrior one, release the clasp of the fingers before you rise up. Then exhale, bring the hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway to chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend, exhale back, downward facing dog. Glide forward to plank pose. Bring the knees down to the mat, coming into tabletop. Right hand underneath the right shoulder or out to the right. It'll give you a little bit more balance. Step the left toes back behind you, spin that left heel down flat, reach the left arm up. Hug that outer right hip in, lift the lower belly, press that right shin down, maybe the left leg lifts. It doesn't have to. Keep the left toes pointing to the side instead of up to the sky. Stay here or reach back with that left arm, moving the shoulder away from the ear. Bend the left leg, point the toes, see if the foot and the hand connect. Press the left thigh away from you as you reach the chest forward. Gently release the foot if you have it, reaching the left arm up. Left hand comes down to the mat. Set the left knee down to the mat. Tabletop. Left foot steps forward outside of the left hand. Wide lunge, hands underneath the shoulders. Reach the chest forward, tuck the back toes, extend the back leg. Lizard. Keeping it high on the hands. Left leg goes up and back for three-legged down dog. Left foot steps forward to the top of the mat. Hop the back foot in. Warrior one. Square the chest, square the hips. Press down into both heels to lift up through the waist and the arms. Interlace the fingers, one index over. Fold forward, humble warrior. Release the hands, rise back up, warrior one. Hands come back down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway to chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths here. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees on the inhale, chair pose. Press up to standing. Hands come together and down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, vinyasa, or skip it and go back to downward facing dog. These are all your choice. Left foot steps forward to the top of the mat, hop the back foot in, come into warrior one. Interlace the fingers, lift the chest, fold forward, humble warrior. Rise back up, warrior one. Exhale, the hands come down to the mat, step back to plank pose, make your way back to downward facing dog. Left foot forward, right heel down, warrior one. Interlace the fingers, one finger over, folding forward, humble warrior. Bring it back up to warrior one. And exhale, bring the hands down. Maybe a vinyasa, maybe modify it, maybe skip it. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, sit back, Utkatasana, chair pose. Press up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down, back to plank pose. Make your way back to downward facing dog. Right foot forward, left heel down. Vira one on the inhale. Arms forward and up. Interlace the fingers. Fold forward, humble warrior. Inhale, back up to warrior one. Exhale, bring the hands down. Step back to plank pose. Make your way back to downward facing dog. Left foot forward to the top of the mat, right heel down, warrior one. Interlace the fingers, keeping it one finger over, fold forward. Rise back up, warrior one. Exhale, bring the hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, make your way back to dog. Take child's pose. Bring the knees down, big toes together, forehead down. You can even bring the arms back behind you if you want to give the shoulders a rest. And start to stretch the arms forward if they're back behind you. Come back to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, bend the knees, look to the top of the mat, bring the feet forward up between the hands. Back into that forward fold. Then keep the fingertips down on the mat if you can. Start to bend the legs, bringing the chest to the thighs. So bend the legs a lot. See if you can get the hips in line with the knees. As you reach the chest forward, still keeping the chest connected to the thighs. Start to keep the legs right where they are, pressing down into the feet. Keep the legs as you come into chair pose. Reach the arms forward and up. So it's a deep chair. Come up to standing. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. So just like we did when we were on our backs, press the right thigh back as you hug the left knee in. Then interlace the fingers underneath the left thigh. Extend the left leg forward. So press out through that left heel. And then notice where the sit bones are. Is the left one way higher than the right one? Level them out. Can you keep the left leg this high as you reach the arms up toward the sky? Then bring the hands together, down in front of the heart, slow warrior three. So this left foot is not going to touch the mat. It's just going to be right above it as you start to stretch the left leg back, keeping that left inner thigh engaged the whole time. You're a three. Arm variations, for the hardest, you could reach the arms forward. Or keep the hands together at the heart. Hands come down to the mat in front of you, standing splits. So you're folding over this right leg as you lift the left leg, pressing out through both heels. Head and neck are relaxed. Shoulders move away from the ears. Step the left foot next to the right foot. Keep the fingertips down on the mat. Bend the legs so much that you can rest the torso on the thighs. Move the hips back to move the knees back. Then pressing down into the heels to feel the hamstrings and the glutes engage. Start to reach the arms forward and up, keeping the legs where they are, coming back into this deep chair. Press all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. This time we hug the right knee in toward the chest. Press that left thigh back. Interlace the fingers underneath the right thigh. Extend the right leg forward. Press out through the right heel. Get that strength in the right leg. Lift the arms up, keeping the right leg where it is. Maybe you see if you can lift the right leg higher, engaging that quad. Hands come together, down in front of the heart, slow warrior 3. Take your time with it, building the strength as you come into the pose. The big transition that needs a lot of concentration. Once the hips, the chest, that right heel, and the head are in line, keep the hands where they are, or maybe you challenge yourself and reach the arms forward. Just like we did on our back, stretch the fingertips away from you, press out through that right heel. Bring the hands down to the mat, take standing splits. Right foot comes down to the mat next to the left. Inhale up halfway. Hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway to chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Right foot steps forward to the top of the mat, hop the back foot in, warrior 1. Take your time. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Fold forward, humble warrior. Shoulders are becoming more open with these. Slowly rise back up, warrior 1. This time, open it up to warrior 2. You have to heel toe that right foot in a little bit so you have heel to arch alignment. Open the chest to the side as you keep the gaze forward. Then straighten the front leg, bring the palms overhead, looking up. Keep the legs straight, just bring the arms out wide to the side. Up to you if you want to heel toe this back foot in a little bit, shortening the stance for triangle. Start to stretch forward as you bring the hips back, bring that left arm down, right arm up. The hands will come down to the mat. You'll come onto the ball of the back foot. Hop the back foot in like 6 inches, and then make sure the feet are on separate train tracks. So we're coming into pyramid pose. Inhale up halfway, level off the hips, and then fold over that right leg. Start to walk the hands forward. Stay here, or maybe you walk the hands over to the right. Keep reaching forward. Pull the hips back. Pretty deep stretch for the back of that right leg. Come back to center with the hands still reaching forward. Then bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Make your way back, downward facing dog. Vinyasa, skip it, modify it. Left foot steps forward to the top of the mat. Hop the back foot in, warrior 1. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Lift the chest, fold forward, humble warrior. Bring it back up, warrior 1. Open it up, warrior 2. Drive down through the legs, lift up out of the waist, lifting the chest away from the hips. Then straighten the front leg, bring the palms overhead to touch. Keep the legs straight as you bring the arms back out to the sides. You can heel toe the back foot in a little bit, reach forward as the hips go back, left arm down, right arm up, triangle, Trikonasana. Hands come down to the mat. You come onto the ball of the back foot, hop the back foot in and over to the right a little bit, square the hips, come up halfway, then fold over the left leg. And start to come up halfway. Walk the hands far forward, whatever that is for you. Stay here or start to walk the hands over to the left. Keep reaching the arms forward. You can let the head and the neck go. Back through to center with the hands. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders, step back to plank pose. Any way you want, we'll meet back in downward facing dog. Couple of breaths in dog. Notice how the legs feel. Can you pull the hips up toward the sky, lengthening the hamstrings in your downward facing dog? Keep those inner thighs engaged. Heels kick out a little bit, so you shouldn't be able to see them. They're hiding behind the balls of the feet. Then bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Keep the fingertips on the mat. Bend the knees so much that you can rest the chest on the thighs. Keep the legs this deep, deeply bent as you come into chair pose. Move the hips back to move the knees back. Hug that belly in. Press all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Hug the left knee in toward the chest, standing on the right leg. Interlace the fingers underneath the left thigh, extend the left leg forward. So you can see where the legs will go with this kind of support. Right hand comes to the right hip. Bend that left knee again. You can do what we just did, or maybe you play with grabbing the big toe with the peace fingers and the thumb. Level off the hips here, press that right thigh back, lift the chest away from the hips. Extend the left leg forward any amount. It doesn't have to be all the way straight. Then reach the right arm up. Bring that left shoulder back so the chest is square. Keep the hips level. See if you can keep the foot right where it is. Reach the left arm up. Bring the hands together, down in front of the heart. Warrior 3. Take your time. Press out through both legs, both heels. Bring the hands down to the mat, standing splits. Then step the left foot back 2/3 of the way, pointing the left toes out to about 11 o'clock. So feet are on separate train tracks. Bring the hands to the waist, press all the way up to standing. Right hand, right hip, lift the left arm up. Start to reach forward just halfway. See if you can stretch that left arm forward as you pull the right hip back. Left hand comes down inside the foot, maybe on a block, or the ankle, or outside the foot, maybe on a block. Open the chest to the right, maybe you lift the right arm up. You don't have to. Bring the hands back down to the mat. Float the hands up to the waist. Press into the feet to come back up to standing. Step the left foot forward to meet the right foot. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Keep the fingertips on the mat. Bend the legs, rest the chest on the thighs. Keep the legs right where they are. Start to reach the arms forward and up. in your chair pose. Nice and deep. Pull the hips back to pull the knees back. Rise up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Hug the right knee in toward the chest. Stand tall on the left side. Interlace the fingers underneath the right leg. Extend the right leg forward. Notice the height. Notice the length. Bend that right knee, left hand to the left hip. Grab the big toe with the peace fingers and the thumb. Level off the sit bones. Maybe you reach the left arm up right away to help you stand tall. Then extend the right leg forward any amount. Stretching out through both legs. Leave that right leg where it is. Reach the right arm up, hands together, right in front of the heart. Warrior 3. Make sure the right hip doesn't lift. We're open to the side. Hands come down to the mat, standing splits. Step the right foot back and to the right, just 2/3 of the way. Walk the hands underneath the shoulders. Right toes point toward 1, 2 o'clock. Square the hips. Press into the feet to bring the hands to the waist. Come up to standing. Left hand on the left hip. Reach the right arm up. Lift up out of the waist. Come forward halfway as you pull that left hip back. Right hand inside the foot, on the ankle, outside of the foot, maybe on a block for any of those. Reach the left arm up if that gives you more space coming into your twist. So legs are straight without locking the knees, pressing into all 4 corners of the feet. Keep reaching the chest forward as you open it to the side. Hands to the mat. Press into the feet, bring the hands to the waist, rise up to standing. Right foot steps forward to the top of the mat. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway to chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Feel those legs. They're getting longer and longer. Bring the knees down to the mat, coming into tabletop. So blocks might be nice here. If you have them, just set them off to the sides of you. Step the right foot forward, coming back into this low lunge. You can keep the fingertips on the mat, but tuck the back toes, extend that left leg back behind you so that hopefully you can get above the kneecap on the left side. And then we'll take half splits. So shift the hips back, straightening this front leg. Here's where you can use the blocks underneath you if you feel like the mat's too far away. If it's not, then just use the hands. And as you pull the hips back, you push the right foot forward until it feels like the hips are even. Now reach the chest forward. Spread the toes on the right foot. Now you can stay right here. If you want to play with the fuller version of splits, you're pretty open. So it might be a fun thing to try out today to see where you're at with the pose. You'll start from half splits right where you are. You'll start to stretch that left leg back behind you, and that left leg needs to go just as far back as the right leg goes forward. What's nice is once you get to a place where you can stack the head and the shoulders over the hips, if you have blocks, it'll help you get a little bit more height in the pose, but you can do it with the fingertips on the mat. Tuck the back toes again, press out through that left heel as much as you can and see if you can get a little bit more length before you bring that top of the left foot onto the mat. So there's a scissoring of the inner thighs to keep the hips side by side. Lifting the chest away from the hips. So tying all these poses together to get to this peak pose. To come out, you'll start to bring that right foot in, coming back into that low lunge. Bring the right knee underneath you. You're in tabletop. For this tabletop, start to move the hips side to side, just gently side to side. Should feel like a nice release. You'll come back to center, step the left foot forward, find that low lunge, tuck the back toes, extend the back leg back behind you. Start to bring it into half splits. So the hips come back, so you can come up onto the front heel. You push the heel forward till the left hip is right next to the right hip. Reach the chest forward, spread the toes on the left foot. So you'll probably be a little different side to side with this. If you want to play, try a fuller version of splits. Left foot shifts forward, tuck the right toes, extend the right leg as far back as you shift the left leg forward. Maybe you keep the toes tucked a little bit longer. Use the blocks if you want to underneath the shoulders, underneath the hands that are underneath the shoulders. Get a little bit longer, lift the chest away from the hips. Getting a nice long stretch in both legs, but both legs are still active, so it's an active opening. Blocks are particularly helpful if your hips don't go all the way down to the mat. And half splits is still an option, always. So you'll press into the mat if you're in a fuller version of splits to bring the left foot back in, coming back into that low lunge. Step the left knee back to tabletop. Same thing we did before. Stack the shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. Just move the hips side to side slowly. Then you'll sit onto one hip, extend the legs out in front of you. So scoot forward onto your mat so you have plenty of room to lie down onto your back. Setting up for bridge pose. So feet are underneath the knees. The heels are right underneath the knees. Arms down by the sides. Press into the feet. Lift the hips up. Interlace the fingers underneath the back. We've been playing with this most of the class, so your shoulders are probably open enough for this. Stretch the thighs away from you. Lift and spread the chest open. Tone the belly a little bit. Slowly start to bring the hips down to the mat. Rest here for a couple of breaths. So we're doing 2 more rounds of back bends. Sticking with bridge pose is totally fine. If you want to take something deeper in the second round, this next round, or the third round, you're welcome to. You might be open enough for Erdba today, if that's something that you like doing. Upward facing bow. When you're ready, press into the feet, lift the hips up, interlace the fingers underneath you, or go all the way up if you're coming into upward facing bow. If you take that option, the hands go by the ears. You press into the hands and the feet evenly to bring yourself all the way up. Breathe wherever you are. Point those knees straight forward. Get as long as you can on the front side of the body. Find that stretch as the back side of the body contracts to support the lengthening of the front. Slowly start to bring it back down to the mat. Avoiding any counter posing between these back bends. Third and final back bend when you're ready. Press into the feet, lift the hips up, bridge, urdhva, whatever's calling to you. Take another inhale wherever you are. Exhale brings the hips back down to the mat. And scoot the hips over to the right. Bring the knees over to the left, coming into a spinal twist. So that right arm comes right outside the shoulder. Gaze falls over the right arm. Close the eyes. You'll switch sides, taking your time. Slowly start to make your way back onto your backs. Soles of the feet are on the mat. Cross the right ankle on top of the left thigh, setting up for thread the needle. So you can stay just like this, or you can bring the legs in closer, reach through, grab the back of the left thigh or top of the left shin. Keep the right foot flexed to protect the right knee. And then you start to press that outer right leg away from you as the left knee comes in toward the left shoulder. And set the left foot back down onto the mat, right foot back down onto the mat. Cross the left ankle on top of the right thigh. Maybe you bring the legs in closer, reach through back of the right thigh, top of the right shin. Whatever's right there without reaching. Then engage the legs. Outer left leg moves away from you, flexing the left foot. Right knee comes in toward the right shoulder. Slowly start to set the feet back down onto the mat. Let's come into happy baby. Reach through the insides of the legs, grab the outer edges of the feet, pull back onto the feet, keeping the legs pretty wide and the hips down toward the mat. Maybe rock side to side. And bring the knees in toward the chest. You're rocking up to seated, or you can roll over to one side to come to a seat. Extend the legs out in front of you. Let's come into one last seated forward fold. Last opportunity to stretch the backside of the body. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Paschimottanasana. Slowly start to come back up to seated. Bending the legs, bringing the soles of the feet to the mat. Scoot yourself forward a little bit and then come all the way down onto your backs. Arms down by the sides, legs extend out in front of you. If you have something to cover the eyes, that's always a nice way to enhance your Shavasana. Shoulders are right in place. So if they're hiking up toward the ears, bring them down a little bit. So you have plenty of space there. Let the feet roll open, palms face up. Take a little bit deeper of a breath in through the nose. Let it go out of the mouth. Lie here peacefully, having a full experience in your Shavasana to do nothing but just be. I'll let you know when it's time to come out. You'll slowly start to deepen the breath, finding small movements in the hands and the feet, and stretching the arms overhead, just like we did at the beginning. Get nice and long, coming back into your body and into your home space. Then roll over onto your right side, cradle the head in the arm. Keep the eyes closed, easing our way back into the day or evening. Take a deeper breath in through the nose. Gently exhale out of the mouth. Use the hands to bring yourself up to an easy cross-legged seat, sitting up tall, closing out your practice. Bring the hands together at the heart. Bow the head to honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up. Blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thanks for practicing with me today. I'll continue to post more videos. I'm loving this opportunity of finding creative ways to teach, and I hope you're getting as much out of it as I am. Thanks so much.